And we're joined on the phone today by Nige Rockett, guitarist, founder for the band Onslaught. And the new album, Generation Antichrist, is out now. Hey Nige, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Thanks, and you?
I'm excellent. Thank you so much for joining me.
Cool. My pleasure, mate.
Onslaught's got a new album out here, Generation Antichrist. Can you tell the listeners a bit about the new album?
Yeah. My opening statement on this album is angry music for angry people. I think we've it's a pretty brutal album, even more so than our previous records. Kind of gone back to our roots a little with this record. Looked at our influences back in the early days, and gone in that kind of direction. Stripped things back a little bit, and yeah, it's very raw and lots of energy and extremely aggressive.
Well, it's been a while since the last release from you guys. What made you decide to get back in the studio again?
Well, yeah, 7 years wait was too long. I think we overcooked the touring a little bit. Got carried away because we love touring, and the offers were there. So when they're there, we take them because it's what we enjoy most doing. But I guess after four something years of touring after the last album, the label were getting a little bit anxious for a new album. So yeah, we did 2.5 years on the sixth album tour, and then it came up to the 30th anniversary of the fourth album, and then there was lots of requests for touring, which we did for another 2 years. So yeah, that kind of delayed us for a little while, but yeah, we're back now. 7 years, long wait, but it's been worth the wait for me because I think we got so many fresh ideas in that time, and it's a totally different sounding record to the last two. So very, very much back to the roots.
Awesome. And I know you've got a new singer, Dave Garnett's in the band now with you. How's that been with Dave so far?
Oh, amazing, man. He's incredible. I mean, it's been a bit of a whirlwind journey for everyone, ourselves and Dave included. Obviously, we changed vocalists and Cy leaving the band, and that was it was a big call. Kind of nervous about the situation. But it was a situation that had to be done. We were both going in kind of different directions, and Cy just wasn't enjoying the touring anymore. And as I said just now, it's a big thing for this band to tour a lot. So I think Dave, Cy was unavailable for a show in February, festival in Sweden that we played. So Dave stepped in at 2 weeks' notice. Did an absolutely amazing job. As soon as we got back from there, everything kind of worked itself out with Cy, and we decided that we were going to go separate ways. And then we popped the question to Dave, you up for joining us full time? He said, of course, he's a massive Onslaught fan anyway, and we've known Dave for a long, long time. So, okay, you've got 3 weeks to learn the album. And the studio's booked. Let's go. So it was a total whirlwind for us and Dave. But what a job he did at such short notice. He was incredible. He really knuckled down to everything. Learned his stuff that he had to do, and really delivered more than we expected, if we're honest.
Well, I know this is the first album with James Perry and Wayne Dorman in the band as well. So how's the recording process? I know you mentioned you've got a lot of new ideas. Was it kind of like a coat of fresh paint for you guys getting back in the studio?
Oh yeah, very, very much so. I mean, after 7 years wait, everybody was like fired right up for it, especially me. But yeah, I mean, the guys did fantastically. Obviously, they were coming in a little bit too late. I mean, Wayne contributed some great stuff to the album, which was very cool. And yeah, we recorded as we always record. We always record separate. We never record as a full band in a room. That's not the way things are done anymore. But yeah, everybody was right on fire, and we turned the album around recording wise in less than 2 weeks. So everybody was really pumped up and did an amazing job. Especially James, what he delivered on the album was absolutely fantastic. And I think it's just brought a whole new energy to the band with his style of drumming. Absolutely incredible.
This might be an odd question, but what keeps you guys from slowing down at this stage? I mean, a lot of bands that came out around the time you guys did have kind of, mellowed out somewhat over the years, but it's obvious with when you're hit with songs like, Strike Fast, Strike Hard, Bow Down to the Clowns, you guys obviously aren't looking to ease up at all.
Yeah. I get angry as I get older, mate. That's the thing. This world is an inspiration for hate. I'll tell you, it really is. Especially now, what's going on with the virus and stuff, and some of the stuff that's been going on in the UK the previous year. It just fires you up and makes you so angry. These governments are just clueless to anything that's going to any kind of reality. They don't really give a shit about the people. They're just looking after themselves. So every time we make an album, there's something going on. But this time it's been even more so. So it's completely fired me up lyrically, which then pumped up the music angle even more. So as long as these insane governments exist, this band's going to get louder and more aggressive every time.
And I know you've got a re-recording of A Perfect Day to Die on the new album. Can you talk a bit about that and your relationship with the guys from Motorhead? I know you toured with them pretty early on, and they were, pretty big influence on you guys.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, the last few years have been real sad. Losing basically the main influential lineup for me. They've all sadly passed. So I mean, the least that we could do was do some kind of small tribute to those guys. And I mean, they were such a massive influence to them from the day, even before this band were formed. I was a massive Motorhead fan, and it's kind of how I learned to play guitar, because I had the Ace of Spades album and the No Sleep Till Hammersmith album. I just loved those records so much, so I learned to play both of those albums, start to finish, note for note, solo for solo note. And then we were fortunate enough to go on tour with Motorhead in Europe on the Orgasmatron tour in 1987, and it was just something you will never forget. We were young kids, and from day one, as soon as we arrived at the venue, they just took us under their wing, and they gave us everything we wanted and more. We had full use of PA, full use of lights. I mean, we used to take breakfast, dinner, drink after the show with those guys all the time, and it was just incredible. They taught us everything about respect on tour and how to tour. So I mean, that was the least we could do for those guys, is just do a small thing like write a kind of tribute track for them. Obviously, it's very heavily Motorhead influenced, as you can hear. And yeah, I mean, that was the intention all along. So yeah, I mean, them guys were the best to us for sure.
With that being said, how do you feel about the metal bands who are popular today? I mean, it doesn't seem like they're quite as metal as they used to be, I guess.
There was none more metal than Motorhead, put it that way. So, some of the things that used to go on was, this typical. It was what it was like back then. Rock and roll was rock and roll. It was full on, to the extremes, to the max, and it really was. I mean, incredible days, and when you're part of that as such a young person, it has a big influence on you, and it was such fun. It was incredible. I mean, we were on tour in Italy. You're dealing with all these crazy guys, mafia men pulling up in cars and stuff and running shows, and it was just amazing, absolutely amazing.
We were talking about Psy leaving the band. I also read maybe some of the music industry changes might have led to that. How do you feel about the changes? I mean, is it possible for bands maybe just starting out now to make a decent living, playing this kind of music, or has it made the changes kind of made that tough?
For any band starting out now, it's got to be so hard. I mean, the things have changed obviously from back when we were first going. The fact that back then we used to make money from record sales to live, which now obviously we can't, because of the way the illegal downloading changed the market completely. But now we make money from touring, so it's gone full circle. We didn't used to make money from touring, but now we do, and we don't make money from album sales anymore. So at least it's balanced itself out in that way. But for a young band starting out, it's got to be an absolute nightmare, because where are you going to make anything? And everybody's out to take you for a ride, Even though so many, I'm really annoyed about this. It's a couple of times it's been faced with us on this album promotion, that magazines, big name magazines, are actually charging you for interviews, and I find that disgusting and incredible in this day and age, that they will charge mainstream bands who are very well known. If you don't advertise with our magazine, you don't get an interview with our magazine. Now that's absolutely, for me, is outrageous. So for bands of our stature and bigger, getting faced with situations like that, how is a young band ever going to break themselves, if they can't even get into a magazine on merit? It's criminal, and there's too much exploitation going on in this industry of the bands, and that's why we find ourselves where we are, because that's what's happened. The rights have been taken away from bands since the last 20 years, and I don't see that changing. Even now, as a band like us, we're getting millions of streams on the streaming sites, and what do you get paid for that? You get a few $100, and it's disgusting.
Well, and of course, with things the way they are now, and all the tours being shut down, that doesn't help either. I imagine you guys are going to be hitting the road full force when things get back to normal.
Yeah, I mean, this year's been a complete disaster in terms of shows, because obviously everything planned after the album release. We had some massive festivals in Europe. We had festivals in the US. And we've had to postpone 3 tours of US, Canada, South America, and Europe. So all that has to be rearranged. We had our work visas sorted for the US. Obviously, that costs, and that process we have to do again for next time. So, yeah, it's been disaster this year. But obviously, releasing the album now, where many bands have postponed, we want to try and keep ahead for next year. Our agents are working hard to try and rebook the tours. I think we've got most of the festivals for next year rescheduled, which is something to look forward to. But even now, I mean, the promoters are still being very careful about what they're booking, because nobody knows when we're going to come out of lockdown properly and we're going to be allowed to play shows for real. It's still very awkward, because I think our first show in the US is maybe April or May. So who knows what the situation is going to be then? Time's flying so quickly, so we don't know whether that's going to go ahead as normal.
Definitely. Well, it's great that the new album is out now. Again, Generation Antichrist. Is there anything else maybe in the works, or something else we should be watching out for?
Well, no. All we can do, Dustin, is just work on new material. We're going to be laid around for maybe 6 months to 8 months at the moment. So there's nothing happening in Europe or what have you. So the only thing we can do is work on new material, which isn't ideal. But I guess we have to make the most of the free time that we have to try and make sure when everything does return to normal, we're kind of up and running and ahead of the game on everything.
Awesome, man. Again, the new album sounds great, and I really appreciate you taking the time out with me today. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for the interview, man. Take care.
And again, that was guitarist and founder for Onslaught, Nige Rockett, and the new Onslaught album, Generation Antichrist, is available now.